The House comes to order. We're going to hear from the member for Macon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Veterans Affairs and Defence Personnel. How is the Albanese Labor government supporting veterans at risk of homelessness get into housing? What delays were there to delivering this important support?
Call to the Minister for Veterans Affairs and the Minister for Defence Personnel.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and I thank the marvellous member for Macon for this important question, because when it comes to the very important issue of veteran homeless, which I wouldn't have thought I'd be receiving any interjections about, we know that every year there are around 6,000 veterans that are at risk of homelessness. During the 2021 census night, there were some 1,500 Australian veterans that found themselves homeless. Veterans are 3 times more likely to experience homelessness over their lifetime than the general Australian population. And that's why, in the lead up to the 2022 election, as part of our election commitment for a $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund, we included setting aside $30 million to assist veterans who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. And not just to provide the buildings, but to make sure that they were provided with the necessary and important wraparound support services to get them back onto their feet as well. You would think that the support for such a program would have been entirely bipartisan and rushed through the parliament to make sure that we could provide that housing support to veterans that found themselves at risk of homelessness. But what we actually found was that the Liberal Party and the National Party and the Greens Party decided to work together in a coalition, blocking that legislation in the Senate, holding up the rolling out of that essential funding to support our veterans. So what was the impact? Well, it meant that $24 million for capital works. It meant that $6 million for specialist services to support our veterans were held up. But in June of last year, we were finally able to roll that funding out to support our veterans. It meant that 8 organisations around Australia have been funded for capital works programs to build more homes to support veterans that are experiencing homelessness. And importantly, 5 organisations around Australia have been funded to provide those wraparound intense support services to better support veterans who are experiencing homelessness so they can get back on their feet, which is what I would have thought all party members in this parliament would want to see happen. But instead what we saw was those services being held up by those opposite. Veterans who are experiencing homelessness, not able to get access to the services that they need in a timely way because that funding was being held up by the Liberal Party and the National Party and the Greens. We are a government that is committed to supporting people getting into a home, whether that's through buying a home, whether that's being able to access a rental, or for people who need to be able to access that emergency and transitional housing when they need it, including our veterans, who quite frankly we would have thought would be the people most likely to receive the support from those opposite when they find themselves on those hard times, but that's not what we saw, Mr Speaker.